So later today, the Finance Committee is going to take up the $91 million fiscal disparities measure. How did this issue rise to prominence so quickly?
Well, there was a report that came out late summer or fall that measured people's income levels and kind of how they've been doing over the last period of years, and it showed that people especially in Northeast Minneapolis, in the black community, were really lagging behind, and the wages actually had fallen. Mm-hmm. So that really started to focus a lot of attention on that area, and kind of in the minority community in general. It's kind of a trend across different minority groups that their wages just are not keeping up with the rest of the economy. So the governor and I proposed to include some equity type funding to try and add some additional value in those economies for a special session to be included with the Iron Range unemployment extension, but we were never able to get the House to agree, so it didn't happen earlier in the year, which would have really been our preference. Mm-hmm. So the governor proposed $100 million in his supplemental budget proposal to the legislature. The Senate is actually matching that. What we're doing is we're doing $91 million of general fund in what we're describing as our equities article in the supplemental budget bill. Mm-hmm. And then we're doing an additional $9 million over in the tax bill on some different tax incentives for economic development in those areas that economically just aren't doing very well. So we're actually matching the governor at $100 million. We're just doing it in two different places. Mm-hmm. There's some additional money over in the higher education bill that also addresses the equities issue. Yeah. So we're going to try pretty hard with the House to convince them that these areas of the state and these populations need some economic stimulus to create some employment. The unemployment rate in Northeast Minneapolis is extremely high.
It's like 13%, right?
North of 13%, yeah. Where the rest of the metropolitan area is something under 4%. Mm-hmm. So some additional emphasis on trying to create some economic development there is important. So our article of $91 million, most of the money is actually going to go to the Department of Economic Development, and there'll be a competitive grant process where nonprofits and others can make application. We're really hoping that we'll find some innovative type programming come out of the community. Mm-hmm. The best kind of economic development is really homegrown things by people who live in the community, understand the community. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking for that kind of thing to happen. In addition, there are some well-established nonprofit groups that have received, many of them have received state funding previously. Mm-hmm. We're proposing in the bill to give them additional appropriations over and above what they've received previously. Much of what we're recommending are things that the governor has already vetted through his process, mm-hmm. But some of it are issues that come out of the neighborhood. So we're going to fight hard for it in the conference committee with the House. Not sure they're quite putting the same kind of emphasis on the issue that the Senate is. These communities of color are largely represented by Democrats. I don't think mm-hmm. anybody should be surprised that it's our constituency largely that are having these real economic challenges. So I think us leading on it is probably our responsibility.